Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the One-on-One podcast. My name is Josh. I have Kathy with me virtually and Ryan sitting right next to me. It's good to see you both. We are in officially fall, which...
Is it officially fall?
It's officially fall. That was a couple days, well, when this gets published, but it was a couple days ago. Fall for me is my favorite season for a number of reasons, but it brings back good content. And that's what I want to, before we get into our guest, I want to talk to you guys because Kathy, you know, if it were mine and Ryan's choice, this podcast would strictly be about television and film, but we have to talk about real estate. So what is, let's move farther than Netflix. What is your guys' current favorite show that you are streaming right now or have just finished?
Kathy,
let's start with you.
You guys start with
yeah.
I'm halfway into Presumed Innocent.
Oh, okay. I haven't watched it. I heard it's great.
Oh,
You actually told me about it.
it is fantastic.
That's right.
It is edge of your chair.
And that's Bryan Cranston, right?
No.
Oh, wait.
Jake
Sorry.
Gyllenhaal.
Jake Gyllenhaal. I'm thinking of Your Honor, right?
Yeah. Your Honor, they're, oh my goodness.
Yeah. No, yeah. Presumed Innocent is the Jake Gyllenhaal.
I love a good murder.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Ryan?
if you can't predict it, it's great.
That's true.
Yeah. Right now, and you follow me on social media. My wife just started Game of Thrones.
Hold on. I have to interrupt Ryan. If you guys want the best content right now on Instagram, Ryan is obviously our videographer for the company, so he produces just great content. And his wife is watching Game of Thrones for the first time, and
He's never seen it.
And he's documenting her reactions, and it's just flawless. Like it's great content.
It's great. So it's nice watching it again for the first time, but like seeing her watch it and like knowing when those moments come and having to hear her. Like I apologize to everybody, but she swears a lot and she hears stuff. But that's what we're on right now.
For me, I would say I binged The Perfect Couple, which I'm sure the rest of the country did, which was good. But right now it's Slow Horses on Apple TV Plus. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's one of the best shows I've ever watched in my life.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Slow Horses is, it's great. I got to stop because I will make this entire 25 minutes about it. But so I'm going to introduce our guest. We have like a rock star here.
Well, hold on.
What?
I didn't get to say my favorite show.
Well, but I want to tell your name before we.
Let's do that. I'm all into you guys.
Yeah. So Armando Tam, who is the Senior Vice President of Digital Marketing at NAHREP, is joining us. Well, you do a lot of things, but that's just the title I have here on my computer. Before we get into everything that you do, what is your current favorite show that you've recently finished or are in the middle of?
One that I could binge watch over and over is The Blacklist.
Ooh. Yeah, that's good. Okay.
Well, it's like history, fashion, crime, and it's just based on loose events that happens in this country. It's nuts.
I like that. Okay. I feel like you have the similar taste to all of us. Well, Ryan and I watch freaking everything.
This is going to be a very hard episode to...
Yeah, I'll be honest, Armando. We did like 25, 30 minutes of research on you within the last week. And it's going to be really hard for Ryan and I to talk about NAHREP and all the things that we need to talk about on this episode. So let's just start there because I know we're going to eventually go somewhere else.
Let's do it.
So why don't you tell us about your what you do with NAHREP and just kind of your community, your partnership with Realty ONE Group, like how we've all gotten to know each other, that sort of thing.
Yeah, what I do for NAHREP is obviously the SVP of digital marketing and the platform. The platform is NAHREP has close to 100 chapters across the country. Any given point, 30, 40,000 members in good standing. Now, let me explain to you, a chapter does 4 to 5 events a year. So you can multiply 400 local events. So they're supported by staff and coaches. And so I'm very fortunate to lead the staff and the coaches who are volunteers who support those chapters. And that's what really sets NAHREP apart is we're supporting the chapters in a way from a rank and file voluntary kind of mode. So these are people who've succeeded, who are still wanting to grow within the organization because they're all part of the leadership development platform. And of course, staff, we have to be organized. We have to be able to scale. and we have to be able to provide clarity. So it's similar to what you guys do. You guys have a company culture, you guys have a visionary leader, then you have your operational folks, then you have marketing like this, which is all essential. And I think all successful companies have a lot of similarities, even if we're in a different side of the sidelines. You know, we're in the same league, just maybe a different team and position. So that's what I do for NAHREP. And as far as the relationship with Realty ONE Group, it's like family ties. You know, I've grown up with Linda and Danny. I mean, Danny came through the coaching platform. I remember coaching Danny when he was a chapter president, and look at him lead that initiative. And Linda came from the other corporate side. And so dealing with her on a professionalism, we built a brother sisterhood. And of course, you know, Gary and I we're lucky to have dinner with Kua at one of your Florida events. And just to spend time with him, there are some similarities that just make it easier to grow together.
Yeah, is a solid answer. That
was a dope answer with not too many uhs and.
I love that.
Clean.
Did you timestamp
I got that.
Okay. So I want to. Tell me then a little bit and Savag will love this. From the digital side of things, how are you moving and shaking things for NAHREP?
So the digital forefront is important for many reasons. It's our message. Our job is leadership development. And so we have to lead by example. If this conversation was boring, we'd be on our phones. So our job is to make sure we're disseminating information that's data-driven, that kind of shows the opportunities in home ownership, the representation of who we are today in a cool form. It's very important. Like I was just talking to Gary earlier, there's this thing called company culture, but the next graduating master's section is that coolness. It's not cool like the Fonz or Tony Soprano. It's I was on a panel last week with a venture capital guy, and I said, how important is it to maintain your coolness? I think he misunderstood it, and he answered, well, for us, it's not so much being cool, it's being authentic. And I said, yeah, but how do you explain a 13-year-old what authentic is? Right? Yeah. And so you want to capture the future audience, you're going to have that coolness. You know, look at you guys' logo, look at you guys' color, look at you guys' branding, you know. And so with digital platform, my job is kind of fun. I disseminate the information in a cool way so that people can enjoy it, apply it, and educate their consumer. Ultimately, we're increasing sustainable Hispanic homeownership by empowering those that serve the community. And so, I mean, am I going to read a dictionary? No. But am I going to get it off social media and be able to learn it in 45 seconds? That is our job.
I don't want to make this about our team, but Armando, so Ryan and I are on the marketing team at Realty ONE Group. And so we, just to give you a little background, I mean, Ryan's been at the company forever, but none of us have a real estate background. We all come from different industries and we're all creatives in our own right. But we've always looked at marketing and branding this brand, not as if we're in the real estate industry. We're marketing a lifestyle brand. And obviously, like, you know, Kuba's the visionary behind that. But it to your point, we do have a coolness factor because of it.
Oh, you definitely stand out because you guys are a company, but you run it like somewhat independent. There's no corporate structure. You know, the other day I wanted to interview someone, you know, at our conference. They said, well, we can't because we don't know what our company would say. And I wasn't going to ask their company's position. It was just simply what's your favorite show? It could have been that. Yeah. And I think that pushes people away. And also your humor, you know, like right off the bat, I see you guys asking each other what show it was. And your body language says a lot on how you're going to attract the people you want to attract. Yep. You know, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So no, it's reflective on, like I said, I'm going back to the event in Florida. I'm going back to when Linda and Danny bring their people over and how they're dressed with the t-shirt and the sport coat and the sneakers. I think that's cool. I think the old days of real estate with suit and tie and leather shoes is like, who are you trying to impress? You're there for 8 hours a day to freaking learn. Yeah. When you're not performing surgery and you're really going to wear a tie for 4 days at a hotel when you're doing nothing but taking notes. Right. Be comfortable, you know? So no, you guys is cool. That's why I accepted this. Usually I try not to accept the corny ones. But this one was easy to take. We appreciate it. We really do. So Kathy and Ryan and I were actually talking before you hopped on about
a different subject, an event that we're planning. And I brought up to Kathy how sometimes we forget to put ourselves in our audience's shoes and what do they want? Not what are we producing? What do we want? And it sounds like you're really in touch with whoever your audience is or your demographic is. And I know you guys are working with diverse communities. So how do you go about that? How do you constantly look at it from your audience or your user's perspective as opposed to from your side?
Yeah, that it takes humility to think like that, to say, hey, it's not what I want. I may think something is cool, but we do know the business of metrics. And I think people forget that, oh, I'm a good speaker, or I want to do this. Who cares who said you're a good speaker? Mm-hmm. What are your metrics? And so we all have to do that. And our proof is in the pudding. If our conventions didn't continue to grow and we move coast to coast, that's a testament that our metrics work. For example, there was one year in Florida where we had low return attendees from California, but yet we broke attendance numbers. It just showed that 71% of our people that attended that year were first timers.
Yeah.
And so for us, we're like, okay, applaud us on the fact that our marketing and our content resonated to bring in 3,000 new people for the first time. How can we do better for return? And so everything we do, Gary is strict on metrics.
Yeah.
And metrics is better than likes in the social media validation.
Well, it's just hard facts. You can't argue against them.
You'd be surprised how many people argue with passion versus facts.
Yeah. Sorry, Kathy, I feel like I'm taking over this conversation.
No, I'm fascinated. I do have a question along your digital marketing, and you use the word cool, and I'm thinking, because I'm kind of old, I'm thinking sexy and attractive and fun and all these things. And the big question I have is, how do you continue to support such phenomenal growth year after year after year of buyers and sellers and multi-generational, and keep it within those boundaries of attraction?
I think you kind of outlined it yourself. If you look at the typical realtor who's not involved, you guys at Realty ONE Group, you actually probably tell your realtors what they're a part of, helping someone make the most important financial decision in their life. Mm-hmm. And at NAHREP, we teach that homeownership is the first step in the life that you're destined, in generational wealth. These are words that most, people of color or Latinos make it in a regular vocabulary. So when we educate people on how that simple contract can dictate the path of someone's life, that's a cool responsibility to have. And the client feels empowered in a society where it's pretty rough to navigate. But hey, you bought your home. Who cares what it looks like today? What it's going to be doing for your family and your responsibilities in 10 years is unheard of. Yeah. And so just showing that factor is pretty cool, knowing that you can take a hardworking family who's probably, are responsible and continue to buy a home in the 10, 12 years of their trajectory. Their kids are going to have more opportunities than we did. And that alone drives the right people to excitement,
See, that is the most powerful message I've heard in a long time.
Yeah, I agree.
There is tremendous power behind that. When you start talking about generational wealth, that's powerful, and bringing everyone in for a common goal. That's powerful.
And even as a company, because you guys tend to have a lot of successful realtors versus general market. If you look at NAR, you look at the percentage of realtors doing the 80% of transactions, and you look at the 80% are doing less than 3. Mm-hmm. So if you're at a PPP higher than that, I got my nerd stuff on there, Kathy, but it's the production. And when you're showing that you are 3 times above the average, proof is in the pudding. Yeah. They go where they're being inspired. No one wants to work for someone that's just negative,
Right.
I think that's another, I feel like we have a lot of notes to take from this episode, but that is one thing I will say that Cuba stresses is positivity. We are definitely a positive brand, despite everything that's happened in the industry, and we've always run with positivity. And I think that's I clearly sound like I've drank the Kool-Aid, but
You kind of have to, I had a scare with cancer.
Mm.
And I remember, when I survived it, I went back because they give you a kind of like an unofficial cancer counselor.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, I'm good. I'm going to be a different person. And she said to me, no, you're not. And I said, what do you mean? She says, think about this. How bad could life be if you filed bankruptcy, your girlfriend cheated on you, your wife divorced you, someone broke into your car, you lost your job? How bad can life be compared to not knowing if you have life? Mm. And so what? You'll fill out escrow. You're gonna go into depression. You go get smoke some pot. Life goes on. There's some serious issues out there, and it's not easy, but it's possible. That's all.
I love that. It's great.
Change the tone with the cancer thing.
No. But how closely related when you talk about, Josh, our two companies, and you talk about the positivity behind both organizations. I don't think it's coincidence that in a shitty market, let's just face it, both have continued to grow.
Yeah.
Your market, NAHREP is growing leaps and bounds. Our organization is growing. I think Cuba's got something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you guys are creating a movement. Successful companies create a movement.
Yeah.
Gary is creating a movement. You have a visionary, you have a leader, but you have to have a tribe. Because a leader without a tribe is not a movement. A tribe without a leader isn't a movement either. Mm-hmm. And it takes humility. It takes, depth. It takes metrics of execution to make it work,
I agree. On that note, what would you say is the future for NAHREP? What do you think 2025 looks like?
Let me tell you something. So if you guys went to this year's conference, we had several conferences within our conference, right? So we had a construction alliance organization. Mm-hmm. We had sports within our organization. Then we had wealth building, and then we had real estate.
Okay.
So I think the growth is going to continue on any sector of the market. Latinos are the youngest demographic out there and fastest growing. Mm-hmm. But if they're not educated or they're not equipped with financial education, because I don't like using the word literacy, financial education with access, then what good are we having the most people in the room, but we're not any productive,
Yeah.
And so NAHREP is going to grow into that sector. For construction, you look at the percentages of people working in the labor force, it's predominantly Latino. You look at in sports on what Latino fans generate revenue so that GMs can make have more information to make a decision that's better suited for them.
Sure.
That, hey, if we do certain things to be that coolness, like ROG at halftime show, things like that. Wealth building, going back to what Kathy liked, is that, how long do we have to sell homes and give up our weekends before we can create the life that allows us to do what we need to do with our additional responsibility? And that's wealth building. So that's kind of like, in a nutshell, what the growth spurt is. And that is what we experienced this year, and only going to get tenfold, because just like anything, proof of concept, did it work? Let's scale 10X. Without using the Grant Cardone 10X analogy, because I think he's a moron.
Kathy, do you have any more industry related questions, for lack of other phrases? Because I have a lot of other questions to ask before we let Armando go.
Well, I just, we look at that continued support, and I'm just very thankful and grateful for your organization to support our professionals and the consumer. I think there's such strength in that. I mean, and when you look at the statistics, I mean, I had my nerd pretty well, but data rules. Mm-hmm. And when you look at what that data is showing us about who's been driving the real estate industry for the past 4 years, we need to pay attention. And I'm just personally thankful for the service. Personally blessed and thankful that we have Linda and Danny on our team, but that we've partnered with you. Just very, very grateful.
Yeah. Well, you guys are the cool factor. You mirror the community you're trying to attract. One thing people don't like is, I'm here to help you, kind of that servant mentality. Yeah. It's like, no, you really want, you support us, then you hire people that look like the community you're trying to attract. So kudos to you guys for that.
Yeah. Armando, like I said, Ryan and I did a little research on you. I want to just know a little bit about your work in the food space and then also the sports world.
Yeah, let's start in the food. I mean, before real estate, I used to dance kind of professionally, salsa music before you guys think anything else. And I actually
I was already there. Too late. Too late.
I did a stint with Will Smith, and we worked at night. And so my mother always taught me to be productive. I started watching cooking videos, cooking shows, and I auditioned. And this was kind of the turning point. They said, you're not good for TV, believe it or not, but we really like the way you think. So it kind of allowed me to go into consulting mode with this network. And then going in NAHREP and being a successful realtor and knowing how to kind of run a business. Sure. You know, realtors take for granted, or lenders, what they do is because they have to negotiate a lease, they have to go bring in clients, they got to bring in gross rent. I taught the same way, but when you do so many things, when you do a certain thing, X amount of hours, you sort of by organic become really good at it.
Yeah.
And I started becoming good and testing my craft. And, you know, I came out with a book. Yeah. It was a best-selling. So it's pretty cool to be an author on that. And it was a book from a different perspective, my travels and my stories and playlists. Because I think you guys can all make better food than I do. But if I provide the right music and the right people, then that creates a vibe. So that went well. And NAHREP's taught me whatever you're passionate about, can you turn that passion into profession? So yeah, I dabble in the food business. And so I like it. If I can make $1 million selling rice and beans, then so be it. You know, so I'm like anti-bougie, you know?
Yeah, man. So where can I get this jerk chicken chow ramen that I've...
You like that? So that made the top 100 in Las Vegas during my residency.
That's awesome.
You look, jerk chicken, people are like, oh, where'd you get that recipe? Did you go to Jamaica? I'm like, no, it was called the Bronx. Yeah. Because real estate NAHREP allows me to travel, and the Bronx has just, in Newark, New Jersey, shout out to New York and the Bronx, they make the good jerk. And then, of course, we grew up poor on ramen noodles. Yeah. And so it was my tribute. And then, of course, I love Italian food, and the best Italian food is al dente. So I make the chow ramen al dente instead of chow mein with jerk chicken and cabbage. If you go on my gram, I lost 35 pounds, and it wasn't from dieting, it's from shifting what I ate. Yeah. So I won't put soy in, I won't go into detail, but it's a healthier substitute than the traditional chow mein. And of course, jerk chicken. Who doesn't want spicy chicken? If you're gonna eat chicken every day to be healthy, you might as well make it taste good.
I agree. So I love it. That's cool. I mean, yeah, I'm a big, I hate the word, but I cook. Ryan knows I love cooking. I have a raised garden bed in my backyard. So yeah, I really I would love to, yeah, we can chat offline because I could talk about this for days. But Armando, thank you so much for joining us. We so appreciate it. Thank you.
No doubt. It's an honor. And let me tell you something. Shout out to you guys for having this department within your company, because the results are in the pudding, as Kathy said. You continue to grow. You guys, because you have a lens outside of real estate, you give it that cool factor. And then, of course, you got Linda and Dan were some of the coolest people in the country. And you guys just hired our former national president, Luis. Yeah, Luis. So Luis is like this freak of nature, fit guy. So you're just
great head of hair.
Oh, and it's his. So it's pretty cool. A lot of people wear wigs nowadays, So it's his. So that's pretty good. So thank you guys for having me on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again, Armando. We'll see you soon. We thank you for joining us today on another episode of One on One, a Realty ONE Group podcast. We are powered by One.U and ask if you have suggestions, recommendations, or questions, please email learning@realtyonegroup.com. And remember, pay close attention to the details. Listen to understand, not respond, and always be a resource, not a sales pitch.